If you are collecting Social Security right now and you are still working, there is a number that is quietly sitting over your head like a sword. That number is $23,400. That is the earnings limit the government has placed on you for 2026. Every dollar you earn above that number, the Social Security Administration takes 50 cents back out of your check. Not next year, now. While you are trying to pay your bills, buy your groceries, and keep the lights on, Washington is reaching into your pocket and taking money you already earned. But right now, today, there is a bill moving through Congress that could end this permanently. And by the time you finish reading this, you will know exactly what that bill is, who it helps, what it means for your check, and what you need to do right now while there is still time to act. This is not a rumor. This is not a political promise. There is actual legislation on the table. It is called the Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act, and it targets the rule that punishes you for working while collecting Social Security before you hit your full retirement age. Millions of Americans have no idea this penalty exists until it is too late. They get a letter in the mail, they call the SSA, and they find out that the government has been quietly holding back hundreds of dollars from their monthly checks for months, sometimes for an entire year, without ever sending a clear warning first. That is not an accident. That is the system working exactly the way it was designed. But this bill wants to change it, and you need to understand every word of it before it either passes or disappears. This is why you need to hit the subscribe button right now. The rules around Social Security are moving faster than the news covers them. If you are not subscribed with notifications turned on, you will find out about these changes after the money is already gone. Hit subscribe now and turn on the bell so you never miss an update that affects your check. Let us start from the beginning because a lot of people are confused about what the earnings limit actually is and how it works. The Social Security Administration has a rule that says if you are younger than your full retirement age and you are collecting benefits, you can only earn so much from a job before they start reducing your check. In 2026, that limit is $23,400 per year. That works out to roughly $1,950 per month in wages. If you earn $1 over that amount, the SSA withholds 50 cents from your monthly benefit. If you earn significantly more, they can withhold your entire check for several months in a row, and here's the part that stings the most. This penalty only applies to earned income, meaning money from a job or self-employment. If you have a pension, rental income, investment dividends, or money from savings, none of that counts. The government is specifically targeting people who are still working, still contributing, still trying to stay independent, and punishing them for it. Now, who does this affect the most? It hits people who retired early out of necessity, not choice. Maybe your body gave out before your full retirement age arrived. Maybe your employer let you go and you could not find another job at your salary level. Maybe you had a health event and needed income fast, so you filed for Social Security early, and now you are trying to supplement that check with part-time work, and the government says, not so fast. You can work, but only up to our number. Beyond that, we are taking your money back. That is the reality that millions of seniors are living right now, and the Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act is the direct response to it. Here is what the bill actually proposes. It calls for a complete elimination of the earnings test for Social Security recipients. All of it. Gone. No more $23,400 ceiling. No more 50-cent penalty for every dollar over the limit. If this bill passes, you could work full-time, earn $60,000 a year, and still collect every single dollar of your Social Security benefit without the government touching a penny of it. That is not a small change. For someone collecting $1,500 a month in benefits who is currently having $400 withheld because of their part-time job, that is $4,800 back in their pocket every single year. Over 10 years, that is $48,000. That is money for medication. That is money for rent. That is money for your grandchildren's future. And right now, Washington is holding it. I need you to share this with one person in your family right now. If you have a brother, a sister, a spouse, a friend who is collecting Social Security and still working, they need to know this bill exists. The SSA is not going to send them a letter about it. The news is not leading with it tonight. We have to look out for each other because nobody else is going to do it for us. Let us talk about the birth years that this affects the most, because the earnings limit does not apply to everyone equally. If you were born in 1959 or earlier, your full retirement age is 66 years and 10 months or earlier. That means if you are already past that age, the earnings limit does not apply to you at all. You can earn as much as you want and collect your full benefit with no penalty. But if you were born between 1960 and 1962, your full retirement age is 67. And if you filed for benefits early, meaning before age 67, and you are still working, you are directly in the crosshairs of this earnings test right now. Every month that Congress delays passing this bill is another month the SSA is calculating how much of your check to withhold. There is also a special rule that applies in the year you actually reach your full retirement age. In that transition year, the earnings limit jumps significantly higher to $62,160 for 2026, and the penalty drops to $1 withheld for every $3 over the limit instead of $2. So the year you hit your full retirement age, the punishment gets softer. And then the second you cross that birthday, it disappears entirely. But that is cold comfort if you are 2 or 3 years away from that birthday and you are losing hundreds of dollars every single month right now. Make sure that bell icon is set to all notifications. If YouTube does not have it set that way, they will not tell you when emergency updates get posted about changes to your benefits. Go check it right now. This is too important to miss. Now let us talk about the people this bill would help most urgently. The first group is widows and widowers. If you lost your spouse and you are collecting survivor benefits while also working, the earnings test applies to you too. Survivor benefits are calculated based on what your spouse was earning before they passed, and they can be a significant portion of your monthly income. But if you are working to make ends meet after losing your partner, and your earnings go over $23,400, the SSA is reducing those survivor checks. You are already dealing with one of the hardest things a person can face, and the government is adding a financial penalty on top of it. The Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act would end that. If it passes, widows and widowers collecting survivor benefits could work as much as they need to without losing a single dollar of what their spouse earned for them. The second group that this bill would directly rescue is divorced spouses. If you were married for at least 10 years and your ex-spouse has a higher earnings record than you may be collecting Social Security on their record rather than your own. That is legal and very common. But if you are collecting those divorced spouse benefits before your full retirement age and you are working, the same earnings test applies. The same $23,400 limit, the same 50-cent penalty. This bill removes that for you too. The third group is people who are working in low-wage or part-time jobs out of genuine financial need. These are the people who cannot afford not to work. They have medical bills, they have mortgages, they have family members depending on them. They are not working because they want to, they are working because they have to, and the earnings test is punishing them the most. Because for someone earning $25,000 or $26,000 a year in a part-time job, losing several $100s a month from their Social Security check is not a minor inconvenience. It is a crisis. It is the difference between keeping the heat on and turning it off. The elimination of this earnings test is not just a financial policy change. It is a lifeline. Now, some people hear about this bill and they think, well, the money is not really gone, is it? And technically, they are right. Here is how the recalculation works. When you reach your full retirement age, the SSA recalculates your benefit to give you credit for the months they withheld. So in theory, you eventually get that money back through a slightly higher monthly payment for the rest of your life. But here is the problem with that logic. It assumes you live long enough. It assumes you stay healthy. It assumes you do not need that money right now, today, this month, to cover your actual living expenses. For millions of seniors, waiting years to get money back in small increments is not the same thing as having it when you needed it. And for people who pass away before that recalculation fully pays out, that money is simply gone. This bill would stop that from ever being an issue, because there would be nothing to withhold in the first place. You need to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. There is more coming on this bill, and the moment it gets a vote in committee, you need to know about it immediately, not a week later, not after the news cycle. Right away, subscribe and turn on all notifications now. Here is where things stand in Congress right now. The Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act has been introduced with bipartisan support, meaning both Republicans and Democrats have signed on as co-sponsors. That is not as common as it should be, and it matters. Bills with bipartisan support have a far better chance of moving through committee and getting to a floor vote. The argument supporters make is simple. Eliminating the earnings test encourages older Americans to stay in the workforce longer. That is good for the economy. It keeps experienced workers contributing. It keeps seniors financially independent longer, which reduces pressure on other government programs. And it is fundamentally fair. You paid into Social Security your entire working life. You should not be penalized for continuing to contribute. The opposition to this bill comes primarily from concerns about cost. Eliminating the earnings test means the SSA would be paying out more benefits to working seniors than it currently does. Some analysts argue that this would accelerate the depletion of the Social Security Trust Fund. The SSA's own projections already show the trust fund facing significant pressure in the coming decade. Critics of the bill argue that removing the earnings test adds to that pressure without a clear funding mechanism to replace it. Supporters counter that more working seniors means more payroll taxes flowing into the system, which offsets at least part of the cost. This is the debate happening right now, and the outcome will affect your check directly. Share this with someone you love who is in this situation. Pick up the phone right now and tell them to read this. The people who need this information the most are often the ones least likely to find it on their own. If we do not pass it along, it disappears. So what should you do right now while this bill is still working through Congress? First, you need to know exactly where you stand with the earnings test. If you are collecting Social Security before your full retirement age and you are working, call the Social Security Administration directly. The number is 1-800-772-1213. Ask them specifically how much you are currently earning versus the earnings limit, and ask them to confirm whether your benefit is being reduced and by how much. Get that number in writing. Request a detailed statement of your current benefit calculation. This is your money, and you have every right to know exactly how it is being calculated. Second, if you believe you are being wrongly penalized, or if your benefit was reduced by more than it should have been, you can request a formal review. Ask for Form SSA 561, which is the request for reconsideration. Do not let a number on a letter go unchallenged without understanding exactly how they arrived at it. Third, contact your congressional representative. This is not just vague advice. This bill needs votes. And representatives pay attention when constituents call. You can find your representative's contact information by calling the Capitol switchboard at 1-202-224-3121. Tell them your name, tell them where you live, and tell them you want your representative to support the Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act. That call takes 3 minutes and it matters more than most people realize. Check that bell icon one more time. Set it to all notifications. This is your financial future, and it moves fast. The moment there is a committee vote or a new amendment to this bill, you need to be the first to know. The bottom line is this. Right now, in 2026, the Social Security earnings limit is taking money from seniors who are working to survive. The limit is $23,400. For every dollar you earn above that, 50 cents comes out of your check. This has been the rule for years. It has penalized widows, divorced spouses, early retirees, and low-wage workers who have no choice but to keep working. The Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act would end all of it. No more limit, no more penalty, no more letters in the mail telling you that the government is holding back your money until you get older. This bill has a real chance. It has bipartisan support. It has momentum, but it needs public pressure to cross the finish line. Your voice, your call, your share of this information is part of what gets it there. Do not sit on this. Make the call, share this with your family, and stay subscribed so that the moment this bill moves, you are ready. Your check, your money, your fight, stay in it.